Have you ever looked at all of the meal prep videos on YouTube or the pictures on Instagram and wondered, how the heck do they do that? I don't think I could figure out even where to start. Well, up until recently, I was you, my friend. And after a month or so of consistently meal prepping, I think I have the information that you need to get started. If that sounds interesting, stay tuned. Hello, my friend. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to Meal Prep for Beginners. I'm coming at you not as a professional meal prepper by any sense of the imagination, but as a beginner in meal prepping, I want to share with you some of the things that I am learning in my journey of beginning to meal prep regularly myself. I just want to share a couple of tips and tricks that I am learning in real time. I'm about a month into regularly meal prepping and I'm loving it. To say the very least, I am loving it. And I know it has been something I've wanted to do for such a long time. And I just haven't I haven't given myself the discipline. I haven't made the choice and made the effort to meal plan on a regular basis and meal prep on a regular basis. And now that I'm actually doing it, I'm here to tell you today that it is life-changing. It really is, especially if you are somebody who tracks their food and wants to know at any given moment how much food you have left, how many calories you have left for the day, and what you have to mess around with. I know for me, I like to know how many calories I have left to mess around with, should I want a dessert or an extra snack, and it's harder to do when you don't even know what you're going to have for lunch. So today, I want to share with you my tips for meal prepping for beginners, because that's me. First of all, what is meal prepping? Well, plain and simple, it is the act of preparing your food in advance so you have a couple of meals ready for grab and go situations. But for me, it ended up being a little bit more in depth than that, and I'm here to tell you all about it. First, let's start with the first tip, which meal prepping is all about meal planning first. You gotta have a plan in order to effectively meal prep, in my opinion. You can give your opinion down below, but I really think in order to effectively be a meal prepper, you have to be a meal planner as well. So, what are the basics of meal planning? First of all, what is meal planning? Meal planning is simply planning your meals in advance, understanding what you are going to eat for dinners, for lunches, for breakfasts, for whatever. And there are many, many, many different levels of meal planning, and you can pick what works for you. For the longest time, I was a meal planner in that I most often knew what I was cooking for dinner every night of the week. I knew what we were cooking, I knew what days we were having leftovers, and I worked with that. That was the extent of my meal planning, and it involved basically no meal prepping. But I've done that regularly since I've been married. The magic happened when I decided to actually plan out breakfasts, lunch, dinner, and even some of my snacks. And it has been a game changer for me. So for meal planning, I have a couple of tips in and of itself. So for meal planning, here are my tips. Number one, start with a couple of go-to recipes that you know well and that you love. And that would store well, that reheat well. Some of my favorites are chicken. I love to make pork. I love to make the skinny-ish dish meatloaf. I love to make chili. All of those meals are things I already had in my arsenal. So for getting started with meal planning, it was very easy to pick things I was already familiar with to make it just a little bit easier on me and not too overwhelming. Number two for meal planning is group your days. So for example, let's say we're gonna go, for the rest of this video, we're gonna go off of the way that I have been meal planning and meal prepping, and it is based off of a meal plan that I actually paid for. But grouping your days is, think about what you're gonna eat in a couple days at a time. So during normal weeks, my grouped days are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are all the same food. Thursday and Friday are all the same food. Saturday and Sunday are either the same food, or I've started actually making those like the variable days, because Saturdays we usually will order out, and then maybe Sundays I make just like something that's left over in the freezer, or we warm up a pizza or something like that. So while I originally started planning Saturday and Sundays, I actually plan them by not planning them. Does that make sense? So I know that dinner on Saturday is probably also going to be dinner on Sunday, or that I'll whip up something, or we will be eating leftovers if there happens to be any food left from the rest of the week. So normally I do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, same food. Thursday, Friday, same food. Saturday, Sunday, leftovers, eating out, things like that. But grouping your days really helps you understand when you look at a calendar, okay, I'm making this meal on Monday, and we're eating it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm making this meal and we're eating it Thursday, Friday, right? Grouping your days together makes it a lot easier. And I don't know what it's like to plan dinners for a family of, 3 children or anything, because I don't have kids, it's just me and my husband. So maybe that is something that only works for us as a child-free couple. But I would love to hear from the parents in the room. How do you group your days for meals? Do you group your days for meals? Let me know in the comments below. And my last tip for meal planning, the meal planning part of this, is it's okay to look to professionals for help. Like I said, I, as a wellness coach on my own, I looked to a nutritionist that I stumbled upon on Instagram, and she has this meal planner that is like a program. It's not like a book or anything. Like, she has a meal planner with recipes and everything all built into this database, and her food always looks so good and so healthy that whenever I see her post, I want to eat the healthy food that she's been sharing. So finally I was like, you know what? I'm going to pay for a year's access to this meal plan. And her program, I'm talking about Rachel Paul, she's the college nutritionist on Instagram, and her program is called Best Body. I've been using that program, and that is what has helped me get into meal planning and into meal prepping. I paid for this program, and it has been tremendously helpful, and the stuff that I'm learning and using in this program, I will be able to take with me well beyond the year that I paid for. So if you need the assistance of a paid professional, there's no shame in that. Go ahead and find a meal plan that speaks to you, or a nutritionist or coach that speaks to you, and feel free to enlist their help. It's okay. All right, so the first step for meal prepping is, of course, meal planning, and those are my tips for meal planning. So let's get into the actual meal prepping. My next tip is start small. Overwhelm can happen so stinking easily. So while I'm telling you, as I'm sitting here going, I plan my breakfasts, my lunch, my dinners, and my snacks. If that overwhelms you, you don't have to start there. My recommendation would be start one of 2 ways. Start by doing maybe 1 dinner a week. Like, start cooking that on Monday night and then use the leftovers, make more so you have leftovers, and use that to plan for Tuesday and Wednesday. And then you can, ease yourself into it. But if you start with 1 dinner, or you start with planning 1 meal, maybe you plan your breakfasts for the week. Start small so you don't get overwhelmed. Or maybe you prep your breakfasts for the week, or your lunches for the week. Those are all great options for starting. No rule says you have to do all 3. Another great option is prep your snacks, especially if you're someone who wants to be eating healthier foods, hard-boiled eggs, cheeses, and fruits and vegetables. Get all of your produce washed, get your vegetables cut up and in little Tupperware containers that are easily accessible in the refrigerator. And just doing that prepping guarantees that you will have healthy snacks at the ready at all times. And that feels really, really good, I promise. So if you want to just start with prepping your snacks or prepping your produce, totally fine. And then as you get more experience doing the snacks or the 1 meal, you can gradually move on to doing your entire week. My next tip is have the right equipment ready to go. What is the right equipment? Well, if you are meal prepping with the intent of having grab-and-go meals already in the refrigerator, you're gonna need some meal prep containers. I have linked a couple of options down below, but also here's my little budget-friendly hack. I personally have an extensive collection of deli lunch meat containers from Target, meaning I buy the Good and Gather lunch meat and I save the containers once we finish the lunch meat. We go through 2 or 3 of these containers of lunch meat every single week. So I have a stack this high of lunch meat containers that are now my meal prep containers, and they work so stinking well. And the best part is, if you wash them, if they get gross, you can throw them away guilt-free because all you bought them for was for the lunch meat that was inside. So I'm not saying you need expensive, fancy meal prep containers. You can, by all means, but you can also do things like reuse deli containers or things that your other food comes in, cottage cheese containers for things like soup, whatever. So next time you finish something up with a solid container, consider hanging on to it for meal prep purposes. Other things you might want: really good knives to help you cut all of your produce and trim your meats, and you want a good cutting board and maybe some mixing bowls. Whatever you think you're going to need, it's always great to have the equipment on hand and ready to go. If you realize, oh, I really need this, or oh, these knives are too dull and they're really making chopping for an hour difficult, then you're not going to want to do it. So having the right equipment for you, and the right equipment for me are going to be different, but having the right meal prep equipment for you is essential. All right, this tip was the game changer for me. Just because you are meal prepping does not mean you have to have everything cooked. What? Yes, I said it. And this is what I learned from the Best Body program. Just the first week, I ended up having like a warm salad for dinner, right? I didn't want to prep the entire salad. So what I did was I took the main ingredients that wouldn't make the lettuce or the spinach get all soggy, and I put them all together. So I put the spinach, the goat cheese, and the pecans in a meal prep container, right? And then I knew I had to cook up a chicken sausage and I had to put dressing on it. So every night I grabbed the pre-portioned out salad, threw that in a pan because I decided to try it warm. Y'all, it's game changing. It's game changing. Oh, there were red peppers in there too. So I cooked spinach, red peppers, pecans, all in the container, dumped all of those things in the skillet, threw in the chicken sausage that I had freshly cut up, and then added the dressing and the cheese. So it wasn't completely cooked to begin with. I had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays pre-packaged salads and then set aside chicken sausages and then the dressing and the cheese that I had to add. But it's a lot easier than having to pull out the salad, chop up the red pepper, go and grab your nuts and meticulously measure how many nuts you need. I had all of that measurement and chopping and everything done. All I had to do was combine the ingredients in the moment that I was going to eat them. And while that is not completely, fully, thoroughly cooked through, pull it out and eat it meal, it's a lot easier. It's 10 minutes of cooking instead of 25 minutes of chopping and cooking. And sometimes that's enough. No rule says you have to cook all the things. For my chicken dishes, just this past week, I ate chicken in 2 different ways. So what did I do? I actually froze some of the chicken that I would need later in the week. I pulled out and I pre-trimmed and tenderized and everything the chicken that I would need for yesterday's meal. And I put that chicken ready to get combined with everything else in the refrigerator. Did I cook the meals for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? No, I did not. But I got everything ready, so all I would have to do is throw everything in a pan and actually build the meal and put it in the oven. You don't have to cook everything to call it meal prep. My last meal prep tip for you is plan your meal prep days. So for me personally, my meal prep day, which is different from my cook days, y'all, hear me out here. My meal prep day is Sundays. So we get up, we watch church online, and then, or eventually we'll be going back to church, but for now we do church online. And then after church, I get in the kitchen. I wash all the produce. I chop all the produce. I build the salads that I'm gonna have for lunch in those little containers. I do the thing with the meat where I'm sorting it out for just getting the meat together for what's going to need to be cooked. If that needs to be seasoned, I get everything ready to go into the oven. That's what happens on Sunday. On Monday, I cook the first meal. Breakfasts, I usually don't have to prep. I have to plan, but I do not have to prep them. Breakfast sandwiches, smoothies, things like that. Lunches, I've been prepping from Monday through Friday. I've been prepping my lunches. Dinner, I get the food ready to be cooked, and I cook on the day that I'm going to cook it. So on Monday, I will get up, I will make my breakfast sandwich for breakfast. I will grab my salad that's already prepped out of the refrigerator for lunch, and for dinner, I will take the pieces. I just made pineapple chicken, right? I took out 3 chicken breasts that I had prepped, put it in the pan, covered it with the cheese and the barbecue sauce and the pineapple and the red onion that was already chopped and ready to go, put it in the oven. That was on Monday night. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we're eating that chicken. Thursday, I'm having Alfredo and zoodles. So I actually have to bust out the zoodler and zoodle my zoodles and thaw my chicken and cook Thursday for Thursday and Friday's food. I have prep days planned and cook days planned. Sunday is my primary prep day. Monday and Thursday are cook days. For me, it's not all 21 meals for the week are already made and in the refrigerator and all you have to do is microwave them. That's not how my personal meal planning and meal prepping journey has gone. But I really enjoy the way it is going because I'm still delivering fresh food, just out of the oven food or off the stove food a couple nights a week, and I'm having leftovers. So I don't have to cook every day, but I still get to cook. And I get to do the heavy prepping on one day, so there's no heavy prep the rest of the week. Planning your days like that really, really helps. So those are my beginner's tips for meal prepping. I want to hear from you. What are some meal planning or meal prepping tips that have completely changed your world that you would like to share with the community? Please leave them in the comments below, because even I personally would love to hear them. Anything that can help advance my beginner status of meal planning and meal prepping to moderate would be greatly appreciated. If you like this video, I'd love it if you'd give me a thumbs up, as that really helps me out. And if you haven't joined the Diva and the Divine community, we would love to have you. Go ahead and click that little red subscribe button down there and you will be a member of our team. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch. Take care, be well, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.